Pacific. We're here to connect as a community of like-minded, like-valued mortgage professionals. The values that I think we epitomize are turning advice into a competitive advantage. How do we go from I'm a loan officer to I'm an advisor and my advice matters? So on today's call, we have our regular Jen Duplessis. What's up, Jen?
Hey, everybody. Good morning or good afternoon. I guess it's afternoon here where I am, but I'm so happy to be back again. I'm like in and out all the time, but I love being here, love sharing. Can't wait to hear what Bill has to say.
Yep, and we have as our special guest today, and who's going to be doing most of the leadership in today's call, we have Coach Bill Hart, industry legend. What's up, Big Bill?
It is my honor to be here, Dave and Jen. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, well, I continue to be a fan of All In, your new podcast.
Thanks.
It's really not new anymore. I mean, how many podcasts have you done now?
15 episodes now, recording another one today.
Yeah, so anybody who is not checking out All In by Bill Hart, get on it. I mean, I love it because you're interviewing amazing people. I love it because I'm ADD and they're not too long, you know, although I love listening to Jocko for an hour to 2 hours. I don't know how I do it. But
right? Joe Rogan. Come on,
yeah,
they
Joe
go on
Rogan.
for days. Yep.
But it is nice to have like just a good down and dirty all in interview under 20 minutes.
Thanks, buddy.
Or 20-ish minutes. So guys, if you have questions, post them in Facebook. So you're in Facebook Live. That is our main channel. Well, it looks like there's about, I don't know, there's usually like 50 to 80 of you guys watching us from Zoom. And I think all the time, like, hey, should we stop letting people watch us in Zoom and just focus on Facebook Live? I don't know. I'm just taking it week by week on that. But if you ask questions in Facebook Live, one, we're going to do our best to answer them during the conversation. And I promise you we'll answer them through chat after. So you ask it in Facebook Live, it's going to get answered. We've got a few topics because there's some interesting questions that have come up in the Mortgage Coach Productivity Mastermind group. I'm going to put those on the back half of this call. And we're going to kick it off because Bill has, I don't know, how would you phrase this, Bill? You have something new to share with the community.
Yeah. You know, the Masters Coach is such an interesting incubator for us, Dave, at Building Champions, because every quarter we have to come up with something new to get this group focused on. And we always try and do that in terms of what's relevant in the market and what we're hearing in coaching. And so it's never us coming in with our own agenda. It's us sort of reacting to the members. And it's where the by noon effect came from that created Win by Noon. Are we good? I can't hear you, bud.
He's on mute.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay.
I did not realize I was on mute. Sorry about that. But yeah.
No worries. So anyway, it's where my 3 pillars came from, and all those things that have become sort of tools that we've begun to utilize, and many of which are incorporated into your community now, come from the Masters Coach. So it was late last year, and it hit us that it's such an interesting business, Dave, that like I loved your interview with Bliss, and I know we're going to talk about that, but you know, she so called it out that because she was able to lean in so much and make prospecting calls and fill her pipeline with like a basketball, right, of leads, it also allows her to take a bunch of time off. And, you know, I coach a guy, Chad Treese, and in the Midwest with Prime, top 10 with Prime. He took 42 days off, I think, last year and took his family to Breckenridge, Colorado. And he's in his 30s. You know, I mean, who figures that stuff out in an industry other than ours? So maybe real estate, right? But that's probably pretty much it. So it occurred to us that what the industry typically does is run as fast as they can in front of the tsunami of opportunity, which is kind of what happens when we're in a low rate environment. And then when things shift, we scramble looking for ideas. And so we go to events like Stevens in a few weeks, and in October it'll be Sales Mastery. And we sit there in the audience hungry for ideas. And it occurred to us that there might be a more efficient way to do that. And if you think about it with your automobile, right, when you take it in these days, they plug it into a diagnostic, right? They plug it in and they tell you what's going on with your car. When you go in for an annual physical, there's a diagnostic and your blood pressure's checked, and you know, there's x-rays, and you put you on a treadmill or whatever. But we don't do that with our business. Like, what's up with that? So we thought we needed to create a diagnostic tool. So what we did, Todd Bookspan, myself, and Michael Regan, is we sat around and said, okay, those that perform at the very highest levels, what do they have in common? And if you don't mind bringing up that blue slide with the 5 buckets, Dave, if you want to go there, are you good going there?
I do want to go there. I do want people to participate. So remember, guys, this is a mastermind. Bill, I'm going to bring it up in just about 1 minute. I got one more little finesse to do about it. But I want everybody, while you're going through this, you know, when I heard you say, hey, Dave, I want to talk about this diagnostic tool, I thought, oh my gosh, I love this. Because anytime a loan officer goes through like, hey, what do I need to stop doing? What do I need to start doing? What do I need to just do more of? What do I need to work on? Like improve my process here. I think it's a good exercise. So guys, Bill's going to walk us through, you know, what they're doing, why they're doing it. And I want you guys to participate. So please ask questions, you know, a couple times throughout this call. He's going to call things out. And Bill, I'll have this on the screen within 30 seconds.
No worries, man. So, and look, full disclosure, everybody, we are a for-profit coaching organization. So you're going to get an opportunity to take this diagnostic and then just know that we're going to follow up with you, right? It's what we do. So that's the way that it was created. But yeah, the idea was to create something that the 3 Masters coaches all saw as kind of the, you know, the best level loan originator that we were aware of in 5 different areas, which you'll see in just a minute. But the whole idea behind this was to finally be able to diagnose. And so here's the 4 areas, right? It's mission and messaging, meaning my team. So some of you are loan originators with teams, some very small teams, some larger teams. Some of you are producing branch managers, and it might represent a group of LOs. Some of you are areas or regionals, and so it represents an even larger area, but all of this would still apply. So it's mission and messaging. Are we clear on our mission? Are we clear on messaging it? Number 2, lead generation. Obviously, huge topic. One that Dave talks about all the time and brings some of the best stuff in the industry. So lead gen. The loan process, the actual, you know, Tim Brahim would call it the perfect loan process. We're doing an event in August called the ideal loan process. We've referred to it in the past as the life of loan, but it's just sort of that schematic of how do I generate a lead and then how do I create a raving fan, or what are all those touch points, right, that happen in between your role. And again, that's going to vary depending on what it is that you do, but your role. And then lastly, team and culture. So those are the 5 buckets. Dave, does that make sense in a broad overview?
It does. It does. I do want to, you know, kind of put the mortgage coach spin on this.
You bet.
I would recommend everybody, like, loan process. Tim calls it perfect loan process. I think as we move into the new world that we're in, it's mortgage experience. Like everyone on this call, you're a referral-based local mortgage professional, and you're competing with, you know, just call it Amazon, Zillow, big bank, low-cost credit union, and they're all going to have good loan processes. You know, they're going to have perfect loan processes, and I think more and more you need to create this mortgage experience, and you need to think about, okay, what do we do during the loan so that we have this predictable, quick, we keep our promises, efficient process. But I do believe that's becoming commoditized, you know, and you need to look at the bookends. What am I doing on the front end and the experience that I'm creating for that family before they get into the perfect loan process? Although in Tim's perfect loan process, he does integrate, you know, a total cost analysis. He does, you know, that initial conversation is part of it. But I just think as an industry, well, as a referral-based local loan officer, you need to put more emphasis on that front end, and then it's this circle that just keeps going. Like the mortgage experience, it's like client for life. So I just want to, like, if you're a mortgage coach and you're in this community, think of that as your mortgage experience, not just your process. And Jen, I know you're not going to be on the last half of the call. Anything you want to ask Bill or weigh in here?
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree. And, you know, it's one of the things, it's funny, Bill, you started talking about pillars, or however you're calling them.
Buckets. Yeah.
Yeah, and I just built something like that too, about around a lifestyle business. And one of the pieces I have in there is client experience, and it's the entire package. It's the communication, it's just everything. Where you're working, customer service is just throw it out. It's old, it's new, it's not around anymore. Everyone wants to feel something, so it's creating. So in your sense, this loan process, it's creating that feeling of having worked with you, that they're so compelled to tell their friends and family, that you have a revolving door of constant referrals and communication and connection with people. So that's all I wanted to add to that, because I think that's probably where you're going with your loan process, but I just wanted to add that in there as it piggybacks what Dave has to say.
Yeah, it totally is. Thank both of you for that distinction, because you're right. I mean, a loan process, Dave, in its purest sense, is a commodity, right? There's no doubt. So when you make it an experience and you make it relevant to the borrowers or the prospects, and that's happening over time. Absolutely, man. As a matter of fact, my most recent All-In with Coach Bill Hart podcast is with Dave Galegas, who I think in Denver. And
I've interviewed him many a times, and he's been an active member of this community.
Is he not the definition of all in? I mean, I told him, I said, dude,
Totally.
Your voice reminds me of if you took Tony Robbins and who's the other one? Jim Rohn, actually, and put them in a blender, you get Dave Galegas, because he's just always passionate. He's just always fired up. And so he talks about this, right? He talks about the uber localized experience and focus. And what does that experience look like? So look for that.
Time out. I want another reason to watch that, guys. So Dave Galegas is a branch manager, more than a branch manager. Now he's building a brand in Denver. I can't remember exactly how many loan officers he has, but 3 of his loan officers, I think at least 3 of them, out of 28,000 loan officers in the social survey community. So Social Survey, this great reputation management platform, they put out a list of their top 100, top 50, and top 10 highest reviewed loan officers. So the algorithm is who's getting the most reviews, who's getting the most 5-star reviews. Out of like 28,000 loan officers, 3 of his loan officers are either, one of them has been number 1, Giuseppe. And 2 or 3 of them have been in the top 50. So, he is truly doing something special. When you're driving that kind of customer service, you're doing something special. So check out All In with Bill Hart. This guy's a special leader, and he's a good friend of mine. He's actually taken me to a Denver Broncos game. Right. So he's a brother for life.
Yeah, I get that, man. And I have the honor of coaching him and walking beside him, and Dave is he's just a stud. But to the point of the assessment, he gets this stuff. And I think most importantly, Dave, and this is the reason the assessment was created, he's looking, I hate to keep quoting the Wayne Gretzky quote, until somebody comes up with a better one, right? He's skating to where the puck will be. Yeah. And I think our industry is largely skating to where the puck is. And that's not good. That's not good. That's when you get caught as the industry is shifting and you're not thinking far enough ahead. So if we can show the average scores that we got, so we deployed this within our Masters Coach group first, which is only about 30 people this year. And here are the average scores that we got with that group. And it was mission and messaging was 3.36 on a scale of 1 to 5. Lead gen 3.17, loan process 3.48, my role 3.40, and team culture 3.50. Now, I won't say that's the best of the best, but it's, it's close, right? These are the best of the best that at least are participating with us in the mortgage industry. So when you take this, don't beat yourself up for not getting 5 5s. You're not going to get 5 5s. Let's go to the next one that shows whichever one it shows. Yeah, areas for growth. Now, within the Masters Coach, these were the lowest scores that we saw. And by the way, this will take you 8 to 10 minutes. We're going to make this tool available to you. It's totally free. And in 10 minutes, you'll have your results and see how you compare with admittedly our bar. right? The coaches that coach some of the best in the industry came up with this model. So you could argue that, well, I would have measured different things. Fair enough. This is what we created. Dave, annual mortgage reviews scored the lowest, like the lowest, 2.0. Now, it's essentially all you talk about, right? There's no shortage of valuable strategies and tools and tips on this community, and yet even our group scored that the very lowest. Now, why do you think that is? Why would that be?
Well, there's a lot of reasons. But it starts with, first of all, top performers are honest about their scoring. Part of how they get there is there's this constant reviewing of what they do. There's a higher standard, and they take critical feedback better, and so they're just more honest about it.
Yeah.
And then part of it, let's face it, doing annual reviews consistently is hard. It's not easy. You've got to, not only do you have to have processes, but you have to resource for those. So
totally.
real quick, guys, I want to make sure anybody who doesn't know what we're talking about, what we're talking about. And it also gives some color to something I talked about earlier, which, this is the typical mortgage experience, where you do some lead development, you do some advice, you do a lot of transaction, and then you do client for life. And this has the biggest crater because, to Bill's point, this is where the industry loses the most loans. This is what people voted on. They said, hey, I'm a 2.0 here. And by the way, I think most of them are more like a 1.0 or a half. Like when you really look at how many loans, if you've got 100 past customers, you should be doing 10 past customer loans a year, 10% pull-through rate. If you've got 1,000 past customers, you should be doing 100 past customers a year. And most are not. They're doing 20-ish, which, it's a 2. And then guys, this is what I was talking about earlier. This is where you need to go, where you're delivering this experience, because the transaction is getting shorter, smaller, more automated, and with big data coming, with artificial intelligence coming, we're talking rapid disruption here. And Zillow wouldn't be in the mortgage business if this wasn't happening. All these real estate companies would not be doing mortgages if this wasn't happening. Everybody's getting in the mortgage space. All these new channels are getting in the mortgage space because of this. And so you need to expand your advice bucket. And really, I would say, you need to be a 5.0 here. And this is green, because this is where all the profits are. And you need to be a 5.0. If you are going to crush it in the future, and let's just review that real quick. Spring home buying of last year, this was your competitive landscape. These were the channels of competition. Literally, spring home buying last year, and by Q4 and today, this is the battlefield. The battlefield has changed. And like I said, the Open Doors and the OfferPads, the Redfin and the Keller, the Zillow, they would not be getting in the mortgage business if the transaction was not becoming, more automated, more predictable, an easier thing to do. That trend would not be happening. So what Bill's going through here, guys, it's time to do your diagnostic, and it's cool that you're educating on this. It's cool that you're going to give us a link to it. As Bill said, you're getting value. And I would guess that just going through the process is going to be a valuable 10 minutes, 20 minutes of time. But you are also going to, get 30 minutes with a building champions coach, which obviously they want more customers, but that's going to be valuable too. So I love it, Bill.
Yeah, I have a comment on this too. So I would just, suggest to everyone as they're going through, this assessment, if they decide that they want to go through the assessment, the people I coach, I ask, how often are you communicating with people after the closing, right? And I can honestly say 99% of them have zero, absolutely none. And so that leads me to believe that a lot of people are still relying on the transaction, and it might be a comfort zone, right? It might be a comfort zone that, that whole hold my loan and call it George, and be its friend for a really long, I'm going to call it George, and really hold on to it, and then turn around and say, oh gosh, now I don't have any business. I have to go back out in that crazy cycle of the ups and downs. And I would just say that, as part of, there's a lot of things to talk about in this, but, working with people that complement, not complicate you, rather than, and saying no to some people, right? So that you want to call them. Because when I did mortgage reviews, I was so excited about calling them because it was an opportunity to connect with my friends. But if you're not developing that friendship throughout that process, then you're going to be less apprehensive to call, even though you have a great mortgage coach, TCA, to share with them, and there might be some value for them. But there are people that haven't talked to their clients in 7 years. I just haven't talked to them. So here's what I would say. If you're going to take this assessment, I think that sometimes we live in the land of liars where everybody just pretends like everything's okay. And yeah, I'm doing all the things I'm supposed to be doing. And your numbers show it. And internally in your gut, right? So fall on the sword of truth. When you do this assessment, be real, be true, because the actual results will give you a better experience when you go through a conversation with a coach, right? Because we cannot assess what's a lie. I need to know the truth, right? So fall on your sword of truth to get the most help that you can from Bill and his team.
So here's what I tell people. This is the equivalent of this experience. Imagine yourself going to the doctor, getting your blood work done, all the x-rays, scans, put you on the treadmill, whatever. And then the last thing is, oh, by the way, take off all your clothes, leave on your underwear, stand in front of that wall, don't hold your stomach in, and we're going to take a picture of you with a Polaroid.
Yeah.
Like, that's what we need in order to get real about what the gaps are to create some areas of improvement. So Jen, well called out. I love fall on the sword of truth. I'll be quoting you on that one. I love that a lot. Way good. Yeah. Way good. No so problem. This is what we discovered with this group. Right now, this is a small sampling. I think we're up to 75 or 100 now. I don't have the totals, but if you can go to the next slide, Dave. These are the areas of strength. So now these are areas inside the 5 buckets, right? So a clear closing process, super high, 4.35, meaning this was described, this was anticipated, this was expectations were set. As you would imagine, this group did that really well. Branding, they were doing really well. And the next highest would be team and culture. So the good news is those were the ones that we saw that were the highest, but the 2 lowest areas were lead gen, and mission and messaging. Mission and messaging, I totally understand, although I can never say those 2 words sequentially. But lead generation, for goodness sake. So Dave, when I asked you before, why do you think it is that they scored so low on annual mortgage reviews? Here's what, Jen, I'll bet you would say the same thing. Here's what our coaches would call out. We know that has not been something that has been a strength for people since, let's call it what it is, probably about 2010, right? When the phone is ringing, when rates are low, I don't have to be talking about annual mortgage reviews to make a decent living, but it's a short-sighted view because the market will shift. It did. It's going to shift again. Count on it. And I think to Jen's point, if you're not calling friends and staying in touch with, and incidentally, after 7 years, they're no longer your clients. They're somebody else's clients. They're in your database, right? But they're somebody else's clients. Here's something that I think is interesting. And I shared this. Dave, may I share my screen?
Yeah, go for it. There's a box at the bottom. While Bill's sharing that, I want to share another thought. Here's at least a belief I have. It's a subjective opinion, but I think that most loan officers that achieve a certain level of success, obviously, if you don't have high marks and clear to close, you're dead. That means you're not keeping your promises. You're not closing loans on time. And so, you can't be a top producer and not kill it at that. But let's face it, you're a hunter. You like to hunt. You like to chase new relationships. I mean, you can't be a good top producing loan officer and not be a good hunter. And so, that's the other thing. Past customers, that's farming. I mean, you don't believe it, but you're like, that's just too easy. Like, I want to go get the next conquest versus have a conversation with a friend. It's like, where's the new blood? So I also think there's just like, we're hunters, but I also think if you want to optimize profits, you want to optimize your survival,
Totally.
you need to get more balanced yourself. And you need to, if you have a team, you need to make sure that you're staffing your team for farming. So anyways, Bill.
Well, I was just going to say one thing before you change gears here. And this is just a follow up from you on that, Dave. One of the things I learned from you is not how many transactions did I do this year, but how many families did I help? And that was a major mind shift for me several years ago when I was originating. And to be able to say, yeah, really, am I nurturing, or am I neglecting my database? And in order to nurture them, I had to work with these people that complement, not complicate, and I had to like them. So I decided I'm getting rid of everybody I don't like. I'm only going to work with my friends and family because they all just become that, right? So I just want to say thank you to you because that's where it came from. The reason why I wanted to interject here, Bill, is that we have a question from someone, and their question is from Connor Cullip. And he asked, is there a most important section of the diagnostic assessment? So in all those 5 items, is there one area that you feel as a coach is the most important section for success?
Yeah, I mean, it would be easy for me, Connor, to just say, they're all equally weighted, but my personal response to that would be mission and messaging. I think if you don't have a clear sense of message or mission, and you're not regularly articulating it, then you do run the risk of being commoditized, right? So that would be my response to that.
Yeah.
Here's what I was going to show you guys before. Does anybody know what this image is?
I don't see it. Oh, there it is. Here it comes.
Is that?
Anybody know?
Let's look at the screens. It looks like it's a financial institution.
Yeah, it's Quicken Home Loans. You may have heard of them. So here's the thing. They're the 3rd largest lender in the country. They've got 5% market share. Last week at the Masters Coach, I had a container of vanilla ice cream, 3 bowls, and a scoop. And I scooped out vanilla ice cream and said, now this is not me demonizing Quicken. I just think we need to recognize where this game needs to go in the way that we play it. And that is, if you want vanilla ice cream, if you're 20% down, you've got a 740 FICO all day long. Right? Scoop of vanilla in your bowl. If you need something a little bit more complicated, if you have a little hair on your deal, if there's a little bit, I need Rocky Road, they're like, we're out. We don't do Rocky Road. Now, again, understand they've got 5% of the market, which I don't know. I'm pretty sure that leaves 95%, right? So my whole point in that is be clear on where the opportunity is. Just like realtors need to start looking at Zillow and iBuyer and understanding there's a market for that. There are people that want to sell their home without having to do anything for it, and they'll take 8% below market. And by the way, that market share is building, right? So there's an opportunity there, but this is a time for us to double down, which is why this diagnostic becomes so critical. So that's the only thing that I would call out there. Any other questions coming up that you guys are seeing? I don't know why I'm not seeing them.
And it's okay because I'm monitoring them. You do your thing, cool. I'm monitoring.
Cool.
Okay.
Yeah, and someone did ask for a link, and I did put a link in the group. So,
great.
There's a link.
Take the assessment right
diagnose it.
Yeah.
Well, don't multitask right now, but definitely
take it in a half hour. Guys.
Yeah. Well, I want you to schedule it, and I'll talk about this as Bill wraps up. But we call them jam sessions. Schedule a 30 to 45-minute jam session. It's not a speed test to see how fast you can do it. If you're going to get value from, the experience of doing it, give yourself time to do it thoughtfully. And then, schedule a jam session, reflect on this, because I just believe it's always good to slow down, reflect, assess. Super cool that we get to talk to a coach. And are you showing it to us, Bill? Is this what it looks like?
Yeah, I just wanted you guys to see when you click on the link and you put in your email and create a password, this is what you'll see, right? So I just wanted you to understand that, like on the first one there, I told you I can't ever say those 2 words together. Mission and messaging. Yeah, the first one, my vision is complete and documented in writing. Well, I know that the vast majority of you don't have that done. I know that because I coach people where this is a big deal in our organization, and most people don't really own that. So you're either going to say, I strongly disagree as a 1, or I strongly agree as a 5 because I nailed it. So I wanted people to be able to see what this is going to look like. And this will take you roughly 8 to 10 minutes, Dave. This is not a big deal. Love the idea of the jam session to get it done.
All right. So let's do this. I want to pull up my screen real quick, and I want to go through some other topics today. Remember, folks, if you have questions, ask those. And Bill, I am going to give you a chance, any more stuff on this, but there's a post right now I posted before the call that in terms of topics for today, we're going to talk about diagnosing your mortgage practice, and we've teed that up. I do want to make sure we discuss the contest that we have going right now. It's pretty simple, guys. I'm saying post a mortgage coach total cost analysis video. So one of your links, one of your videos, and we're gonna pick a winner. I'm gonna pick 3 to 5 that I'm like, hey, here's the 3 to 5 best, and then I'm gonna in a poll like which one is your favorite. And while I could give a lot of guidance, like what does being the best mean? It has to be something that the judges, myself, Jeremy Forcier, and Brittany Hodak, where we're like, we love this one and this is why we like it. But it could be a TCA where you are giving the numbers in a video to a first-time home buyer. Could be one where you're talking about the seller buy down and you're sending it out to 20 realtors. So it's a marketing piece, and it could just be a piece of advice to a family. But the best one wins. To submit into the contest, you've got to submit a TCA video in our group, a post with the hashtag MCGameMay2019. So at least I want to make sure we talked about that. We did have a lot of questions when I interviewed Bliss Sawyer earlier in the week, who is just killing it. There were a lot of people that said, like, how did she make 30 calls a day? How'd she build that list? So if we have time, I want to talk about that. I want to cover best practices on seller buy downs for realtors. I can't remember who it was, but someone posted a question saying, hey, I'm going to be speaking to a big group of realtors next week. Anybody have slides? And I want to spend 5-10 minutes on that. So if you do have more topics, put them down below. So Bill, before we break out into some of these other topics, anything else you want to cover on assessments?
No, man, that's really it. I mean, everybody's got it now. You've got the availability. I can tell you this. I guess this would be my closing thought. I've sent this to a number of clients that I've coached for quite a few years, and they've all said the same thing, like, why didn't you send this to me earlier? Like, this would have made life so much easier. And I said, well, it didn't exist. Like, we just created it. And so to my knowledge, a diagnostic like this has not existed in the industry, and it's just a great way to take an honest look at where you are compared to the bar of where we see the best loan originators performing, who, by the way, have sustainable businesses. They're going to be in this business 3 to 5 years from now. And I'm just going to suggest that those that aren't doing annual mortgage reviews and are just dealing with the incoming, if that's you, and I'm talking to you right now, I'm saying it with as much love in my heart as I can, but you're at risk. You're at risk. So diversify, right? Diversify, make sure that you've got multiple platforms that are in place so that you can compete at the level that Dave always talks about here in this community. And as Jim called it, around the experience, or maybe it was you, Dave, that called it. Yeah, you called it the mortgage experience, right?
Yeah. I call it customer. He calls it mortgage. Yeah. Experience.
Cool.
Yeah. And here's the deal, guys. Like, if you're listening to this call and you're like, oh, I'm not at risk. Well, let's say you're not. Let's just say you can keep doing what you're doing. Here's the deal. You're running a race. There, you saw what I showed you earlier in terms of the amount of competitive channels. When I interviewed Bliss, I think she said last year I was getting shopped. I can't remember if it was 20 or 30% of the time. This year I'm getting shopped. 70% of the time. Let's put it this way. You're running a race, and you want to win. That race is, I want the next decade to be better than the last decade. Like that, to me, that's the race. Like,
yep.
Now, if you don't care if the next decade is better than the last one, if you're cool if it's flat, if you're cool if it's worse, maybe you're not at risk. But if you want it to be better, then you need to adopt new skills. You need to adopt better habits, and you're running this race. And one way, is downhill with the wind at your back, which maybe I'm lazy, but I like that. And one way is uphill with the wind at your face. Which way are you going to more likely to win? The next decade is better than the last one. And
So well put.
so I don't want to. I do think the referral-based loan officer isn't going to get eliminated by tech, but I do think the referral-based local loan officer that optimizes, that takes diagnostics, that improves, is going to just crush everybody else. So guys, let's transition into some topics. And Bill, feel free to,
May I suggest something while you're going into that topic?
Go for it.
Yeah. Okay. So I recently had the privilege of being accepted on the faculty for Les Brown and Les Brown Jr. for their coaching programs and stuff like that. And I was just in Phoenix with Les Brown Jr. and he has created something that we just did a course on and everything, but I have to give this to you today because it makes so much sense for what you were just saying. And it's called the real estate of you. And so bear with me just saying, because it's actually the real estate of you. What is the estate of you? And the you is Y-O-U, right? Got it? So the Y is yesterday's gone. It's gone. Got to look forward, right? And I'm giving the high level of it, not all the intensity of this. The O is overwhelm is not an option, right? So how can you cease and desist the overwhelm? And that's creating a good process, right? That provides that customer service so you're not having to work as hard at getting referrals. I say this all the time, slow down to speed up so that you're not speeding up and ending up slowing down, right? Slow down to speed up so you're not speeding up, slow down. And the U is upgrade your mental software. Upgrade your mental software. You have to think differently in today's market. Yesterday's gone. Overwhelm is not an option. So upgrade your mental software. So that's food for thought as we talk about what you were just saying, Dave, about having the wind in your face or in your back. And so just taking a real estate assessment of you before you take this assessment. Do that. Just say, what is the assessment? My own personal assessment before to get yourself the mindset to go in and do that assessment in the right way.
Cool. Thank you, Jen. And I know you got to jump here.
I'm done. I'm done. That's all I'm giving. I got to jump on another call. So it was great. Thank you so much for sharing this with us, Bill. Really appreciate it. And love you, Dave. And I'll talk to you all soon.
All right. So let's close strong. We got another 20 minutes here, gang. And having Bill here is special. I want to really quick, the person in our group that asked the question like, hey, I need help. I'm doing a presentation in front of a bunch of realtors. If you haven't already watched this interview right here with Scott Nicholson, more realtor leads and referrals with the seller buy down, he crushes it. And my cliff notes are, make sure you're not just doing the whole thing around slides. Like, is it okay? And Scott had some great slides here. To open it up, I personally love, let me just show you a slide, a version of this. Scott had this in his, because here's the deal. Realtors are just concerned, they're more concerned about disruption as the mortgage industry. So, kind of opening it up with this, is coming at us, guys. You, me, we're in this together. I do think most realtors don't know this acronym. This is not top of mind for them, what Amazon can't do. So I think if you're the loan officer and you're standing in front of a group of realtors and you're like, it's going down, the retail industry has been obsessed with this term, WACD, what Amazon can't do. And let's face it, everybody in this room, we got to add a Z to that because and I'm not here to say like Zillow's the enemy. I know there's a lot of people that, put that message out. They're like Quicken. Quicken's killing it when it comes to the digital mortgage. Zillow's killing it when it comes to turning home search into personal to do what they can't do. And then go into your seller buy down. And Scott has built a website. Check it out. You know, I think an awesome presentation would be, you know, a 2 to 5 minute opening around this WAVD concept with maybe a slide, maybe not. And then I think it would be cool to have a total cost analysis. And I'm not saying this because I'm Mr. Mortgage Coach. I'm saying this because your goal when you leave is to have them go, hey, I want you to create one of those seller buy downs for this listing. Hey, I've got a buyer that could really benefit from that. Like, I want you to personalize and localize a total cost analysis for a property or a lead. Like that is your goal. So if you don't show an interactive, you know, TCA within that in-office experience, you're not going to get as much, you're not going to get as many leads. Like, if it's just slide this, slide that, call me if you need me, you're not going to optimize the leads in the room. You've got to do that. And then again, if you're part of Scott Nicholson's local website product, it's like a slide or two, website or your website, and then a TCA. So the more you can have that meeting in a dynamic way like that, I think you'll optimize the ROI. Bill, any advice for the person that had that question?
Well, a couple of things. First of all, I am a huge Scott Nicholson fan. And so I would just say to that point, to that specific person that asked that question, you've got everything you need now. But to the rest of you who recognize that there's an opportunity to be giving presentations in real estate offices right now, I think Dave made a really good point. And if Roberto Monaco or anybody that teaches presenting was with us right now, they'd say, oh, please, death by PowerPoint. Like, don't do that. Have a dialogue. That one video, Dave, that Scott shared, I don't know, a couple of weeks ago, that was, I think, a year old. I think it was actually from 2018. But you remember it was him at a U-shaped table, and he had a group of realtors, and he was just talking with them, and he was letting it.
Money.
It was a dialogue. It was organic.
He was connected.
But you could even see pushback, right? Like, and you know you're going to get that. You're going to get the realtor that knows it all. And they're like, well, you know, but I got this situation, and Scott was on it. And so, yeah, man, I would watch that video. And for those of you that aren't doing it, like, push through that discomfort and get out there and have dialogue with real estate agents, because you can show them how to put deals together that they're not aware of with this strategy.
Cool. So this is going to be a good one, Bill, that I think you can add a lot of value to. So someone had watched this interview with Bliss.
Yeah.
And, you know, where we talked about, hey, she won the contest last week or last month, got $1,000 from Wally Elderberry. She went from calling less than, 200-ish prospecting calls per month to 875. And she went from doing less than 20 TCAs a month to doing like 82, some big number. So she expanded her activity, and someone said, where did she get all these people to call? And so I want to cover that. But Bill, when we do this one, I also want to do it because I interviewed, one of our mutual clients. Brian is big in building champions. He's big with Win by Noon, big with Mortgage Coach. Brian closed 20 loans last month in Boulder. And he's calling, he's leaving videos for 60 to 90 realtors.
It's 90 realtors in a 2-hour window.
So for anybody because I know when they watch this, they're going to be like, how's he getting this list? And I think it also kind of stacks into Bliss, because Bliss was at your event recently.
Yep.
So for the loan officer that's looking to, who do I call? Who do I leave a video for? Help me build that list. What do you say, my man?
Well, let's start with Brian, since you ended with him. So Brian is coached by Michael Regan, but he was in the Masters Coach last week, and he told that story. And I don't know if you saw the post, but I just took a picture of him while he was telling the story, holding the mic, and then typed it up like, holy cow, this is unbelievable. And so here's what he does. And he would tell you that group of realtors is a mix of people that he's doing business with and those that he would like to. And I think if we're honest as loan originators, you've all got that list, right? There's a list of people that you do business with, and then a larger list of people that you'd like to. And so but this is not new, Dave. Do you remember Baron O'Brien talking about this 20 years ago?
Oh, totally.
He did the exact same thing, but it was voicemail. The difference is in technology. And so all he's doing is he's got his phone set up in a tripod. Every message is unique. So it's not one message 90 times. It's unique. It's, hey, Dave, hey, Pamela, hey, Sue, hey, Larry. Right. And the basic message, unless he has something personal to add, and I assume you pulled all this out in the interview that I haven't seen yet, is what Barron used to say 20 years ago, which was, I'm going to be moving and grooving in the marketplace. I know you are this weekend as well. If anything comes up, let me know. I'm here to serve you. I mean, that's the basic essence of it, right? Mind blowing in its simplicity, because he's not using BombBomb. He's not using any third-party software. He's recording a flipping video on his cell phone and texting it. It's as easy as it gets. It's what you guys do. It's what you guys do with your family. And one of the guys, so he mentioned, I know in the video, because I watched the first 3 minutes, he and I were on a walk, as we do. We get the group outside when it's beautiful, and it was gorgeous in Seattle last week. And somebody else that was I think it was Dan Peck that was in our group, asked him, so how do you do that, or why do you do it this way? And he said, well, think of it this way. If you get a text with a video in it, do you view it differently than just a text that is just text? And everybody's answer was, yeah, I prioritize it, I watch it, and then I feel like I have to respond to it. And he said, boom, right? I mean, that's the beauty of that.
So guys, here is the interview. What he does two things. Well, he does a lot more than two things, but he's using video very smart, very strategically, and he's using Mortgage Coach with every client. And the video idea, he actually, I asked him to text me one because I wanted to watch it and kind of know it. And I wrote this up, but just after interviewing, after hearing him, it sounds like most of them are 20 to 30 seconds, although I think some of them could be longer. In the particular video that he left me, I can't remember if he called out a kid graduating, but it sounded like he had noticed something on Facebook that this realtor, that was notable. And it was like, hey, congrats on, John graduating. And I just want you to know I'm working this weekend. I'm here and I'm available.
Totally.
Reach out. And so, if you don't have that front end personalization, don't fake it. Don't call out something that's not there. Sure. The big idea to me was he's just showing up and saying, I'm here, I'm available, and I want to be valuable and I want to be of service to you. Boom, mic drop, not over talking, and the shorter the better. And then of course, he's doing total cost analysis. And so Dave, it's not that hard.
Right? It's also a blue ocean. Right? This is a blue ocean because nobody's competing in this space. Where they are competing is voicemail and email. Step away. Step away. Yeah. And by the way, Brian won't be doing this a year from now. He'll probably be doing something different. But right now, this is a strong play, you guys.
Yeah. Well, and marketers haven't screwed it up. I mean, we will clog up that text to text video, within a year or two. But to your point right now, it is a blue ocean. And if we want to WAZD our business, you got to amplify your personality. You got to connect. I interviewed Josh Metal a couple of weeks ago. Josh is doing this. He's putting the video in every TCA, and he's doing the one-on-one video to every prospect. Like, good conversation with them. Then he's just, by the way, everybody's using the same tripod. For those of you that are like, what tripod is he using? I posted it. I actually didn't know this is the one he was using. It was given to me as a gift, and I posted it in our group. Just scroll through it. You'll see a tripod, which I'm using now. He happened to be using the same one. Bill, I think if you don't have this tripod, you need one. It's the new tool.
Let me know. If it's not this one, then let me know, because I've been using this one for about 3 years with the squiggly legs.
Bro, this one is the new.
Hook me up.
Yeah. Okay. Well, hook me up. I'll send you one. I'll send you one.
Send me one. Send me a link. Yeah.
All right. I'll send you a link. And there's a link in the group, guys.
Cool.
So let's drill down for the next 5 minutes, and then we'll see if we have any more questions from you guys on Bliss Sawyer. I interviewed her, and so I can answer it. But Bill, by the way, have you watched this, Bill, before I
have. I watched it last night because I knew we were going to be talking about it. And Dave, I just have to call out the thing that from my perspective, from the coach's chair, 16 years in this chair, that absolutely floored me. And she told the same story to the group at the Masters Coach last week too, is she empowered her team. And she took the $1,000 and gave it to her team. I just cannot celebrate that enough, you guys, that if you're going to do this, because everybody tells me the same thing right now, Coach, I'm too busy. I can't make improvements to my business, my practice, my schedule, my life, because I'm too busy. Dave, it gives me a headache. It raises my blood pressure. So what she's done is she said, let me allow my team to protect me so that I can make these calls. They understand the why behind it, and they even had an incentive. And then there was a payoff and a celebration. Like, you guys have to hear that. That's, if you have a team, get them around the why, because sometimes we kid ourselves with what's referred to as the savior syndrome, which means I've got to be available 24/7. Everybody needs me. Don't kid yourself. You're really good at what you do. But she talked about it. Jen just called it out, naming your file George, right? George is my friend. Bliss said the same thing. I had to get out of the files. So to me, that's the number one lesson in this. But you tell us, because you did the interview, and I'm not sure I could do it justice in terms of the list. Who did she decide?
Okay, so she was calling her, her realtor list.
Yeah.
So some of those calls were the realtors she does business with weekly, and the realtors she wants to do business with weekly. Referral partners, the wealth team. So boom. She was calling all of her annual reviews. So got to get all those annual reviews in. And the thing that I thought was smart, and I just recommend everybody on this, she's like, hey, you have your active pre-approval funnel, so you're probably not calling them every week, every 2 weeks. And then this was a smart one, her non-active pre-approval funnel. What about those people that you talked about 6 months ago? So she just was piling it on. And then I loved it because she also was doing TCAs, not only for her leads, not only for her past clients, but for her non-active funnel. She was like, hey, let's update, this person said this and that. Let's do an MI analysis for them. Let's do a seller buy down, looking at creative ways to engage, to educate, and to deliver value. It's that simple. So
yeah,
real quick, and then Bill, I'll open it to you. If you're listening to this call right now, whether you're live, whether you're watching the recording, who are you calling? Put it down below.
yeah.
Just give us the high level on your call list, because that's what makes this community great. It's when we learn together. Maybe there's a group of people that we're not thinking of right here. Put it down below in comments. Bill.
Love to see the list. Well, the thing that just jumps out at me, Dave, as you described that, is I know that there are people that if they're told that they need to make a certain number of calls by their coach or whomever, whatever accountability partner they might have, they'll knock out the calls, right? It's like I don't know if Rusty Mendoza is on this call or not, but I'll bet 10 years ago, he told me once on a Monday, I asked him how he was in a coaching session. He said, well, actually, I'm a little sore. And I said, why? And he said, I ran a marathon yesterday. I said, you ran a marathon yesterday? You didn't tell me you were running a marathon. Well, I didn't decide until Saturday. Dude, he decided on Saturday he was going to run 26.2 miles on Sunday. He did, because he has the heart of a lion. He was 28 years old. He said he threw up his socks at the finish line, right? And I said, let us use this as a metaphor for your life, right? Like plan it. So I know some of you you'll just make your calls, but you're just making calls, right? I think what Dave has called out with what Bliss has done, and please watch this interview with Bliss. It will be so encouraging to you. Here's what we need. We need a reason. And if the reason to call is a TCA, there's new data, there's new information, I've got something meaningful to follow up. She even mentions an event, right, that she was doing. So it's so much easier. And by the way, Brian Manning agreed with that when she called it out at TMC last week, that I need a reason to make my calls, even as Friday calls. The reason is you're going to be moving and grooving in the market this weekend, right? So what I'm saying is, don't just muscle through and be like Rusty and say, I made my damn calls. That's not the objective. The objective are, as Todd calls it out in Win by Noon, meaningful conversations. We need to be having meaningful conversations.
Love that. And one thing I took from Brian, he is tracking his videos, and he's doing it Win by Noon, so he gave a shout out to Win by Noon, but he's tracking those videos. So if you are going to do this, how many of those text to text personal connection videos are you going to do a week? Are you going to do a month? And most people call it the perfect loan process, or the loan process, the mortgage experience. The more you can turn that into an experience with personal connection. Hey, if you get people to come in your office, there's nothing better than knee-to-knee, person-to-person, human interaction.
Totally.
But when they leave your office, send them a video. God, I really enjoyed meeting you. Connect. When you give them their rates and their fees, be creative. Give them options. Put a video on that too. Keep that personal connection going, because that's how you're going to optimize profits. That's how you're going to optimize production. And that is how you're going to have the next decade better than the last decade.
Absolutely.
And I do absolutely believe, like, we live in this golden era where, think about it, Bill. Have we ever lived in an era where wisdom on how to be successful is more abundant? Like, not bragging, but the mortgage coach community,
Look
the
at
videos.
this. Absolutely. Brag. Dude, brag.
Coaches like you. It's like, between the coaching industry in the space, the content in the space, like, wisdom is there. You just need to hear it, engage in it, take notes and action. And then the tech stack. Oh my gosh. I mean, like, Arnu, and not just bragging about the new mortgage coach integration with social survey, but it's like our teams work together. The C-suite flips the switch, and now all your online reviews are integrated into total cost analysis. I mean, guys, like, these are the golden era.
Hey,
like,
that one blew my mind, man. I have to tell you, when I start seeing people chiming in on the community on that, it's like, oh my goodness, this is game changing. This is game changing, because now it's at the point of relevant dialogue, and there's my social proof. It's genius.
Yeah, I mean, look at this, guys. And I'm going to pull up. Where am I here? Oh, here we go. I'm going to go back to our group, guys. And if you are using Mortgage Coach and Social Survey, I loved a post that came in. I'm going to go to announcements. I love this announcements feature because I can put some things at the top. But contest, Amanda. So Amanda Gilbert, second-year loan officer. I talked to her today. I'm going to be interviewing her. She's closing 11 loans this month. So second year in the business, on a path to be closing 50 to 60 loans a year. I mean, that puts her in the top 30% of the industry, because
Totally.
70% of loan officers don't close 50 to 60 loans a year. But check this out. She's got reviews integrated with the total cost analysis. So guys, we live in a golden era. We got 3 more minutes. And Bill, since you're the special guest, I'm going to let you share any closing words, any advice, knowing the conversation we've had. Let's make sure we remind them to get the assessment.
Yep.
But what are your closing thoughts and a reminder on the assessment?
I think you make a really good point that we do live in a golden era, and Dave, you have to know I promote this community all the time, because I don't mean to alienate anybody who charges money for stuff, but I'm saying to you that what you provide for free is the best content, in my opinion, that's available to the mortgage industry. So I would make a discipline, right? You asked Bliss in your interview how she consumes it, and she said, I can't really do it in my office because I multitask, but I listen to it in my car and when I'm on my bike. So I would make this a regular discipline to take in this content. And this is not me saying, go listen to Dave. Dave's the facilitator. Dave is the one that brings these people in and shares the knowledge, right? So that's the number one thing that I would say to you. The second thing is, be open to the fact that you have room for improvement. That's the whole reason behind the diagnostic tool. There's nothing critical in this. It's just be open to some improvement and recognize that we all have gaps. Everybody has gaps. I have gaps. We all want to close our gaps, but in order to do that, I've got to be aware of it. So that's the final thought that I would have, man. Just be prepared to improve. It's time. it's maybe, yeah, it's time to improve.
Yeah. And I haven't gone through the assessment, but I want everybody, you know, if this is covered in the assessment, great. If it's not, I want everybody to make a list of the skills that you need to develop, you know, so you have this new skill, like doing a total cost analysis is a skill. You know, using your text and recording a video and sending it to someone, it's a skill, you know, and like little things, like I have this unplug real quick, you know, learning when and where to, you know, put an iPad to make a good video. That's a skill, you know, learning that like, hey, when you don't have it, you know, like you could put your phone against a window, a wall, and record a really good execution. That's a skill.
Which also gives you light. Yeah, which is perfect.
So obviously creating videos, learning how to do it anywhere and everywhere, these are all skills. But, you know, I just wish would push everybody, you know, come out of the assessment. And then I also want you guys coming into the weekend, write down 3-4 skills that you want to develop to help take your career to the next level. So Bill, it's always an honor to have you, brother.
My
Great
pleasure,
conversation. Man. And appreciate you, man.
Good time, buddy. Good time.
Yeah. Hopefully y'all got value from it. If you did, give us a like. If you're watching this on Facebook, give us a like. If you have a question or a comment, give us a comment. One last thing before we forget, we've got Mastermind coming up. I am going to be there. Bill, are you going to be at Mastermind this year?
I won't be there.
Nah, bummer.
I know we got hearing all about it.
We got Steve Sims that's going to be there. I do believe a leader in our community and someone I'm going to be interviewing soon, Connor Kellett, is going to be doing some type of Steve Sims dinner party, or some type of networking event. Keep an eye on our group for it. And if you are going to the event, please, you know, make sure you connect with me. Come up and say hi. I want to get some FaceTime with everybody in the group. So, Bill, have a good one, brother. And everybody, make sure you take the Building Champions assessment. And look forward to hearing how that goes. Take care, y'all. Have a great weekend.